Incumbent Tlaib wins Democratic nomination while Levin defeated in Michigan. Embryos can be listed as dependents on tax returns, Georgia rules. Aligarh Muslim University to remove Pakistani authors' books from syllabus. Shia Cleric Al-Sadr urges protesters to leave Iraq's parliament. Russia claims U.S. is directly involved in Ukraine war. From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Our top story tonight. Incumbent Representative Rashida Tlaib has won the Democratic nomination for Michigan's 12th Congressional District. Tlaib first was elected in 2018. She's the first Palestinian-American woman to serve in Congress. Tlaib and Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar were also the first Muslim women elected to Congress. However, progressive Democrat U.S. Representative Levin lost his seat. Israeli Political Action Committee AIPAC and allies spent $4 million defeating Levin because of his acknowledgement of Palestinian rights and support for a two-state solution. Kansas voters decided to keep the right to an abortion in the state's constitution by voting no on a proposed amendment. It was the first popular vote on abortion since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in June. A yes vote on the amendment would have removed the right to abortion from the Kansas Constitution. Abortion is legal up to 22 weeks in Kansas. The state is a haven for women from other states that have rolled back abortion rights. Meanwhile, several candidates who denied the 2020 presidential election results won in hotly contested primaries nationwide. On Monday, Georgia's Department of Revenue said it would recognize any unborn child with a detectable human heartbeat as eligible for income tax dependent exemption. The announcement came after the Supreme Court's June 24th decision overturning the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling, establishing the right to an abortion nationwide. A lower federal appellate court also decided on July 20th to let the Georgia law banning most abortions take effect. Officials said taxpayers filing returns from July 20th onwards can claim a deduction of up to $3,000 for any fetus whose heartbeat could be detected. This could occur as early as 6 weeks gestation. On Monday, a federal judge handed down the longest prison sentence so far in connection with the January 6, 2021 U.S. Capitol attacks to a Texas militia member. Guy Wesley Ruffett of Wiley was sentenced to 87 months in federal prison for his role in the deadly riots. 5 people were killed and hundreds more were injured when the mob clashed with law enforcement officers. Ruffett came to the Capitol armed and determined to instigate violence, according to Matthew Graves, U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. He was the first to stand trial among hundreds of defendants charged in the January 6th breach of the Capitol. Democratic Senators Dianne Feinstein and Cory Booker jointly introduced a resolution recognizing July as Muslim American Heritage Month. The aim would be to celebrate the achievements of Muslims living in the United States. The resolution highlights Muslim Americans' incredible contributions in multiple sectors of society, including medical professionals, entrepreneurs, faith leaders, athletes, and public servants. It also notes the religious discrimination experienced by Muslim Americans. It also stresses the need for public education, awareness, and culturally competent policies. Booker said Muslim Americans have contributed to the nation since its inception. He added those contributions have enriched the cultural tapestry of America even as Muslims continue to experience religious prejudice and discrimination. A U.S. District Court judge sentenced Mohammed Khalifa, a Canadian born in Saudi Arabia, to life in prison for his involvement with Daesh, also known as ISIS. Khalifa was prosecuted as a media figure and foreign fighter. He pleaded guilty in December to conspiring to provide material support to a designated foreign terrorist organization that resulted in death. Khalifa traveled to Syria in 2013 and swore allegiance to then ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, according to authorities. He was recruited in 2014 to ISIS's media department, where he worked until 2018. He served as the lead English narrator and translator for 15 of its propaganda videos. On Tuesday, peace campaigners decried the Biden administration's approval of more than $5 billion in missile sales to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The move came weeks after U.S. President Joe Biden visited the leaders of both countries despite pleas from human rights defenders. The U.S. Department of Defense said that the State Department approved the $3.05 billion sale of 300 Raytheon Patriot MIM-104E missiles to Saudi Arabia. The U.S. also sold 96 Lockheed Martin Terminal High-Altitude Area Defense missiles worth $2.25 billion to the UAE. This comes on the heels of a United Nations brokered truce in Yemen being extended. Since 2014, a U.S.-backed Saudi-led coalition that includes the UAE has been waging a war against Houthi rebels in Yemen, backed by the Iranian government. Aligarh Muslim University to remove Pakistani authors' books from the syllabus. Details after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back after these messages.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Bika from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppets stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
Adam's World. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah. Let's explore.
To stop this genocide, we need your help.
Welcome back. India's Aligarh Muslim University has decided to remove the books of Pakistani authors from its syllabus. Professor Muhammad Ismail is the head of the school's Islamic Studies department. He said the university's board decided to remove all books written by Pakistani authors. The books do not promote anything controversial and have been on the curricula for a long time, he noted. They were included in the syllabus of the Department of Islamic Studies and taught in Aligarh's undergraduate and graduate level classes. A senior staff member told India Today the decision was taken in response to a recent letter written by Hindutva activist Madhu Kishwar and some other academics. The letter was addressed to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. After decades of India supporting anti-Taliban forces, the tide is turning on the relationship between both countries. A year ago, India was displeased with the state of affairs in Afghanistan. At the time, the US was negotiating its exit and the Taliban regime was consolidating its power. Last month, Indian officials met with Taliban leaders in Kabul. India also partially has reopened its embassy in the capital to coordinate humanitarian aid. Asfandyar Mir is an expert in international relations and counterterrorism at the United States Institute of Peace. He said both countries have a long and complicated history. Indian policymakers now see some room to forge a working relationship with the Taliban, experts say, because of the distance they sense between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Independent journalist Akash Hassan was barred from boarding a plane at New Delhi airport on his way to a reporting assignment in Sri Lanka last week. The 25-year-old is the latest Kashmiri journalist to be stopped by Indian authorities from flying abroad. A continuing clampdown on press freedom in Indian-administered Kashmir and its residents has sparked outrage. Hassan is the fourth Kashmiri journalist in about a year to be barred from flying. He told Al Jazeera that he was interrogated for 5 hours by 2 immigration officials who did not identify themselves. He also said that his passport and boarding pass were stamped with "stopped without prejudice" and luggage was offloaded. On Tuesday, Iraqi Shia cleric Muqtada Al-Sadr called on supporters to leave the parliament building amid protests against the nomination of a new prime minister. Tensions have been escalating across Iraq since last week. This is because of the nomination of Mohammed Shia al-Sudani as the new prime minister by the Coordination Framework. That is a coalition of groups close to Iran. The move triggered protests from supporters of Al-Sadr. Iraq has been in a political deadlock for 9 months following the country's general elections last October. Leaders failed to agree on a new government between the rival parties. Russia has accused the White House of supplying targeting information to Ukraine, used by Kiev to conduct long-range missile strikes. It has put the role of American intelligence in the war in Ukraine under scrutiny. Russia's defense ministry claimed Washington was directly involved in the war. The ministry said that the U.S. passed on intelligence that led to mass deaths of civilians. It also claimed the United States was responsible for rocket attacks by Kiev on populated areas in the eastern Donbas and other regions. The Biden administration has given more than $8 billion in security assistance to Ukraine since Russia's invasion in February. Coming up next after the break is our in-depth analysis segment, so stay tuned and we'll be right back after these messages.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes.
Despite the development of a COVID-19 vaccine, millions around the world will not have access. We need a vaccine that's free and available to everyone, everywhere. It's time for a people's vaccine.
They took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
We are Justice for All. Headquartered in the heart of downtown Chicago, Justice for All is a global humanitarian initiative dedicated to raising awareness for human rights concerns impacting vulnerable minority groups. Our diverse team of staff and volunteers, led by Imam Malik Mujahid, work tirelessly to help Justice for All achieve their goals. We promote policies that protect religious freedom, address the root causes of mass displacement, and recognize the plight of refugees and forced migrants. Together, we can continue to stand up for justice. Justice for all.
Welcome back. Pressure grows in the United States for the UAE to free an American lawyer, Asim Ghafoor. To discuss this in detail, let's go to Imam Abdul Malik Mujahid. Over to you, Imam Mujahid.
Thank you, Hena. Asim Ghafoor was well known in the Muslim community as well as has been in the media. He is the American lawyer who defended the murdered journalist Jammal Khashoggi. He was detained about 15 days ago in UAE. He's perhaps the most prominent Muslim American lawyer in the area of human rights. Now, pressure is growing from the US. Different senators, congressperson has spoken to get UAE to free him. However, American government so far has not asked for his release. They have asked for his fair trial and humane treatment. We have with us Oussama Jammal. Welcome to Muslim Network TV.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Oussama Jammal is Secretary General at the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations. You have asked for a meeting with the Attorney General about the arrest of Asim Ghafoor. Have you received a response on that?
We have not yet received a response from the Attorney General office yet. We're trying to make sure that we are reaching the right office that will receive our mail that we send out officially to the Department of Justice. And we will continue to press for a meeting with the Attorney General to discuss Asim Ghafoor's case.
Why do you think US has not called for his immediate release instead of just asking UAE for fair trial and humane treatment?
Well, I cannot really speak for what the reasons. They haven't shared with us their reasons of doing that. The only thing that we can expect is that a language of protocol that they want to honor every country's judicial system. So they will say, whatever you have, if you claim to have a case against a person, then we expect a fair treatment and fair trial. And we certainly ask for the same thing. Now, our question to our government is that a country like the UAE, Even Russia, we would imagine that they have informed our government, whether the embassy or the Department of Justice or whatever channels that they normally use to inform another country if one of their citizens been held for judicial proceedings on the other country. So our question and our main discussion would be, and we've been raising this with every official, is that if Mr. Ghafoor was sentenced in absentia by UAE, this have been done long before Mr. Ghafoor arrived at Dubai airport in transition, not even staying in UAE. He was not visiting UAE. He was on a plane going to Istanbul, Turkey, and stopped in Dubai. So if he was convicted or if he was sentenced, if the UAE court has issued any sentence against Mr. Ghafoor, they would have, we expect them to have informed our government that one of your citizens have committed whatever crime in their minds, and therefore he is to be called for justice. Now, why our government did not inform Mr. Ghafoor that he is tried or that he has a case against him, or assisted that country in even arresting him, if that's the case. The UAE claimed that our government had concern and sought UAE assistance in this. If that is true, UAE insists on that. Our government, through the State Department, mentioned that they have not. Then the Department of Justice, if that's the case, well, Mr. Ghafoor was in the United States. He was not outside the United States. He went to Dubai. He went to Turkey through Dubai, originating from United States. He was all with us. So why, if you had a concern, did not approach Mr. Ghafoor for that? So this whole thing is really of major concern to us on the action of our government, the knowledge of our government, the response of our government, and protecting a U.S. citizen to have, yes, we want him to have a fair trial. So far, we have not seen a fair trial for Mr. Ghafoor, nor for a fair treatment of Mr. Ghafoor as a U.S. citizen. At least in the case of the U.S. athlete held in Russia, we've seen it on television. The Russian showed us, the lady been held in there. Mr. Ghafoor, we have not seen. His family did not even have the chance to speak with him. Only lately, after so many weeks now. So that's where we have an issue, or we are expecting or requesting clarification from our government, because this is not just about Asim Ghafoor, and I want our audience to understand this very clearly. So this is not about Asim Ghafoor. This is about any U.S. citizen, especially Muslim Americans traveling, could face the same situation. And therefore, we want to see how our government deal and treat these types of situations. And this is important for the entire Muslim community. This is important for every American traveling for another country, and to be treated and to be arrested in that fashion.
Well, Oussama, Jammal, I mean, UAE is a country which has declared probably the largest Muslim organization, CARE, to be a terrorist entity. Did our government protest on that why a U.S. entity with duly formed in good credentials has been declared as such? Was there a trial? Was there a hearing? What was the process they used?
I'm glad you brought this issue. At the time when UAE issued a list of over 80 organizations around the world, including 3 prominent Muslim American organizations, at that time, the State Department issued the same statement They said they do not agree with the UAE about the designation of these organizations. They don't know about the reasons listing these organizations. Those are in good standing in the U.S. or to that effect. We requested a meeting with the State Department at the time, and we had the meeting with a top U.S. officials. It was the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for the Arabian Peninsula, and we had a discussion. They said they have absolutely no clue. They did request a clarification, understanding of the process. I believe nobody knows. We don't know, even the higher ups at the UAE knew who made that list, or whether that list had the blessings. At least that the kind of understanding we received. Nobody knew about that list, how it was formulated, how it was vetted, because obviously United States does not harbor terrorist organization on its soil. And if any such organization exists on American soils, would not wait for a country like UAE with their records to tell the United States of America who's the good, who's the bad, and who's the ugly. And therefore, the objection was on the onset of the declaration of those designation. Number two, obviously, none of those organizations been listed in the United States, never treated as such in the United States. And the things still hang in some countries. They make decisions and they keep it that way. And, now whether our country would like to continue to have business with these types of countries, that is something for the American people to push their representatives to come up with legislation that forces the government to be careful and decisive in their relationship based on human rights and based on respecting American citizens and American institutions and American organizations. So that is for the wider audience to engage on those types of protocols that our government should engage with.
Oussama, Jammal, you being the leader of Muslim organizations in North America, based on what they have done to care, based on Asim Ghafoor situation, would you advise the Muslim American citizens to avoid going through transit in UAE?
I certainly not. I do not encourage. But first of all, Americans should have the freedom to go anywhere they want in the world, knowing that their government will be backing them. Obviously, we ask every American, every citizen to adopt by the rules and by the laws and not to break any laws. And know that their government will always back them up and will always be there for them. But in countries that have already declared their hostile attitude toward a section of our society, a group of our citizens, an entity, we should be careful as we travel through those countries and take precautions and to avoid them at all. Now, I understand that our country still have business with UAE. There are many businesses out there, and you cannot, kind of cripple your economy or your businesses or force other companies or citizens not to do this or to do that. But we hope that people will be wise enough to make their good assessment about their travel, about the risk of their travel, and also to make sure that their government is there for them when they travel. So I do encourage American citizens to enjoy their freedom, and also that we expect, and we will be very loud, that we're going to be watching our government, whether they will continue to have double standard in treating their own citizens, because that's how other countries will be willing to meddle in our affairs, that they will be able to use our double standard to selectively treat American citizens when they go by their countries. So it starts from home and goes out there. So our Muslim Americans should be very careful in their travel.
Thank you so much, Oussama. Jammal, Secretary General at the U.S. Council of Muslim Organization. Thank you so much, and Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Back to you, Hena.
Thank you so much, Imam Mujahid. That's all from our Washington studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can find previous episodes and more on our YouTube or Facebook. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.